The 1-week American grocery shopping truth that nobody talks about. Complete YouTube script. You know what absolutely blows my mind? I've been grocery shopping for years, and I recently decided to do something different. I took my receipt, laid out every single item I bought for 1 week, and actually photographed everything. When I posted that picture online, my phone literally exploded with notifications. People were shocked, angry, confused, and some even thought I was joking. But here's the thing, I wasn't joking at all. What you're about to see in this video is the raw, unfiltered truth about what feeding a regular American family actually costs in today's economy. And trust me, the numbers are gonna make your jaw drop. Before we dive into the shocking details, I want you to do something for me. Think about your last grocery trip. Do you remember what you spent? Do you remember feeling that slight panic when the cashier told you the total? Yeah, me too. And that feeling is exactly why this video needed to be made. We're going to break down every single dollar, every single item, and by the end of this, you're going to understand why so many families are struggling right now. So here's how this experiment started. I'm a regular person, not some influencer with a massive budget or someone trying to sell you a meal plan. I have a family of 4, 2 adults and 2 kids, and we eat pretty normally. We're not buying lobster every night, but we're also not living on ramen noodles. We buy fresh vegetables, some meat, dairy products, snacks for the kids, and the basic staples that every household needs. Sounds reasonable, right? Well, get ready, because reasonable doesn't mean affordable anymore. When I walked into my usual grocery store on a Sunday morning, I had my list ready. Nothing fancy, nothing extravagant. Breakfast items like eggs, milk, bread and cereal, lunch supplies including deli meat, cheese, lettuce, and tomatoes, dinner ingredients like chicken, ground beef, pasta, rice, and frozen vegetables, plus all the extras, paper towels, laundry detergent, dish soap, and those little things you don't think about until you run out. I was mentally prepared to spend around maybe $150. I mean, that seemed like a lot, but prices have been going up, so I adjusted my expectations. As I went through the aisles, I started noticing something that made me uncomfortable. A dozen eggs that used to cost $2 now cost almost $6. A gallon of milk that was $3 is now pushing $5. A pound of ground beef that I used to grab for $4 is now $7 or $8 depending on the fat content. Even the store brand items, the ones you buy specifically to save money, have nearly doubled in price. I found myself putting items back on the shelf, recalculating in my head, trying to figure out what we could live without for a week. The produce section was another nightmare. A bag of apples, $6. A head of lettuce, $3. Bell peppers, nearly $2 each. I remember when you could fill your cart with fresh fruits and vegetables without worrying too much about the cost. Now I'm standing there doing mental math, wondering if we really need fresh salad this week, or if we can just make do with frozen vegetables instead. And here's the kicker, I'm not alone in this. Every person I saw in that store had the same look on their face. That mix of frustration and resignation that comes with knowing you have no choice but to pay whatever they're asking. Then there's the meat section, which honestly deserves its own segment. I used to plan meals around what protein sounded good. Now I plan meals around what protein I can actually afford. Chicken breasts that used to be my go-to because they were cheap and versatile are now premium priced. I found myself gravitating toward the marked down section, looking for packages that are close to their sell-by date just to save a few dollars. There's no shame in that. but it's a reality that many of us are facing. We're changing our entire meal planning strategy not based on what's healthy or what we want to eat, but based purely on what we can afford. The cereal aisle made me want to cry. $6 for a box of name-brand cereal that will last my kids maybe 3 breakfasts. The store brand is cheaper, sure, but even that's pushing $4 now. I stood there looking at the prices, remembering when cereal was the cheap breakfast option. Now it's a luxury item. So what do? You buy the big bag of oats and make oatmeal every morning? You skip breakfast altogether? These are real decisions that real families are making every single day. After about an hour of carefully selecting items, comparing prices, and putting things back that we didn't absolutely need, I headed to the checkout. My cart wasn't even full. I mean, it had groceries in it, but there was still plenty of empty space. I had been so conscious of the prices that I'd naturally limited what I was buying. As the cashier scanned each item, I watched the total climb on that little screen. $50, $75, $100, $150. It kept going. My heart started racing a little bit. $180, $200, $220. When she finally told me the total, I actually asked her to repeat it. $267.43 for 1 week of groceries. For a family of 4, with no special items, no organic everything, no fancy ingredients, just regular, everyday food that families need to survive. I handed over my card feeling that familiar pit in my stomach that I think a lot of you watching this can relate to. That feeling of working hard, doing everything right, and still struggling to afford the basics. But here's where it gets even more interesting. I took everything home and I laid it out on my kitchen counter. I wanted to see exactly what $267 of groceries looks like in physical form. I took a picture from different angles. The image was shocking, even to me, and I was the one who bought everything. It didn't look like that much food, certainly not enough to justify spending over $250,000. I had enough breakfast items for the week, enough lunch supplies if we were careful, and enough dinner ingredients for maybe 5 proper meals if I stretched them with rice and pasta. When I posted that picture online, the responses came flooding in immediately. People from all over the country started sharing their own grocery bills. Someone from California said they spent $350 for a similar amount of food. A person from Texas mentioned their bill was $290. A family from New York said they couldn't even shop for a full week anymore and had to break it up into smaller trips to manage their budget. The common thread in all these responses was disbelief and frustration. How did we get here? How did feeding our families become so impossibly expensive? Let me break down some specific examples because I think seeing the individual prices makes this even more real. 1 pound of butter, $5. A loaf of decent bread, $4. A jar of peanut butter, $6. A carton of orange juice, $5.50. A bag of shredded cheese, $6. A pack of chicken thighs, $12. 1 cauliflower, $5. A bag of frozen broccoli, $4. A box of pasta, $2.50. A jar of pasta sauce, $4. These aren't luxury items. These are things that most families buy regularly. And when you add them all up week after week, month after month, the numbers become absolutely staggering. Now, I know what some people are thinking. Maybe you're not shopping smart. Maybe you should be using coupons or shopping at different stores or buying in bulk. And believe me, I've tried all of those strategies. I have apps on my phone for digital coupons. I check the weekly ads. I compare prices between stores. But here's the reality. Even with all those efforts, the baseline cost of food has increased so dramatically that the savings are minimal. Sure, I might save $3 here or $5 there, but when the overall bill has gone up by 70 or 80% compared to a few years ago, those small savings don't make much of a dent. The bulk buying strategy sounds great in theory until you realize that buying in bulk requires having extra money up front that many families simply don't have. Yes, buying a huge package of chicken at a warehouse store might save you money per pound, but if you don't have the $40 to spend all at once, that savings doesn't help you. And let's not forget that not everyone has the storage space for bulk items or the transportation to get to warehouse stores that are often located far from residential areas. What really gets me is how this impacts different aspects of family life beyond just the dinner table. Parents are skipping meals so their kids can eat more. Families are cutting back on fresh fruits and vegetables because they're too expensive, which means less nutritious diets overall. People are working extra hours or taking second jobs just to afford groceries, which means less time with their families. Kids are growing up watching their parents stress about money constantly. This isn't just about food prices, it's about quality of life, mental health, and the growing inequality in our society. I started thinking about what my grandparents would say if they saw these prices. They lived through tough times, but they also lived in an era where a single income could support a family, where groceries were a manageable expense, where saving money was actually possible. Now we have households with two incomes, sometimes more if people are working multiple jobs, and we're still struggling to make ends meet. Something is fundamentally broken in this system, and we all know it, but nobody seems to know how to fix it. Or maybe nobody with the power to fix it actually wants to. The responses to my post also revealed another disturbing trend. People are increasingly relying on food banks and assistance programs just to supplement their grocery budgets. These aren't people who are unemployed or dealing with emergencies. These are working families with jobs who simply cannot afford to feed themselves on their wages alone. Teachers, nurses, retail workers, office employees, all struggling with the same issue. The cost of living has skyrocketed, while wages have remained relatively stagnant. The math just doesn't work anymore. What makes this even more frustrating is watching grocery store chains and food companies report record profits while consumers are struggling. They'll tell you that their costs have gone up, that they're just passing those costs along to customers. But when you see profit margins increasing and executive bonuses growing while families are choosing between groceries and medications or groceries and rent, it's hard not to feel like we're being taken advantage of. The system feels rigged, and frankly, that's because it is. I want to talk about the psychological impact of all this because I think it's something we don't discuss enough. There's real stress and anxiety that comes with grocery shopping now. It's not just an errand anymore. It's a budgeting exercise, a strategic planning session, and often a source of disappointment. You go in hoping to get everything you need, and you leave having made compromises and sacrifices. You feel guilty for not being able to provide better for your family. You feel frustrated that working hard doesn't seem to be enough anymore. You feel helpless because what can one person really do against these massive economic forces? So, what's the solution? Honestly, I don't have all the answers, and I'm skeptical of anyone who claims they do. This is a complex problem with roots in everything from corporate consolidation to supply chain issues to monetary policy. But I do know that the first step is awareness and conversation. We need to stop pretending that everything is fine. We need to stop blaming individuals for struggling when the system itself is broken. We need to start having honest conversations about wages, about corporate profits, about what kind of society we want to live in. On a personal level, I've started making some changes. I'm cooking more from scratch, which takes more time but can save money. I'm being more strategic about meal planning and reducing food waste. I'm connecting with other families to share resources and tips. I'm growing some of my own vegetables when possible. These small steps help a little bit, but they're band-aids on a much larger wound. We need systemic change, not just individual solutions. The reality is that this video isn't really about one grocery bill or one shopping trip. It's about a larger crisis that's affecting millions of families across this country. It's about the fact that basic necessities have become luxuries. It's about the growing divide between those who can afford to live comfortably and those who are barely getting by despite working full-time. It's about the future we're creating for our children and whether they'll have any chance of achieving financial stability. When I look at that $267 grocery bill and the modest amount of food it represents, I see a snapshot of America right now. I see hard-working people being squeezed from every direction. I see a system that prioritizes profit over people. I see the slow erosion of the middle class happening one grocery trip at a time. But I also see resilience. I see families finding creative solutions. I see communities coming together to support each other. I see people refusing to accept that this is just the way things have to be. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you for watching and for caring about this issue. I want you to know that if you're struggling with grocery costs, you're not alone, you're not failing, and you're not imagining things. The struggle is real, and it's affecting more people than you probably realize. Drop a comment below and share your own grocery shopping experiences. Tell me what you're spending, how you're coping, and what you think needs to change. Let's build a community of people who are willing to talk honestly about these issues instead of pretending everything is fine. And here's my challenge to you. The next time you go grocery shopping, take a picture of your receipt. Look at what you bought and what it cost. Share it with friends and family. Have real conversations about these issues. Contact your representatives and demand action on inflation, wages, and corporate price gouging. Vote for people who prioritize working families over corporate interests. Use your voice and your power, because that's the only way anything is ever going to change. This isn't about politics or pointing fingers at one party or another. This is about basic human dignity and the right to feed your family without going into debt. This is about creating a society that works for everyone, not just those at the top. This is about looking at the next generation and deciding what kind of world we want to leave for them. So let's keep talking. Keep sharing and keep demanding better, because we deserve better. Our families deserve better. And frankly, this country can do better. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll continue this important conversation. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.